Computer, yes. Okay.
Excellent. So, I know you've had some really difficult times at your school recently with the lessons being cut and everything like this. My heart breaks for you, and I can feel how stressed you have to be and how flustered you have to be with all of that.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so like going through your lesson plan, I gave some suggestions on the side. And then everything really came to light to me whenever I was reading your reflection of how it went. Like you understood that things were rushed, you understood everything, and then you gave specific reasons on why it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly, I couldn't imagine doing that. It's basically a slap in the face to you, and I feel really bad for you.
Yeah, they didn't, thank you. They didn't tell us they were doing it. The kids, the kids and I showed up one week to school 2 weeks ago, and they had cut all of the upper middle school. So seventh and eighth grade got cut in half. And those kids were used to me especially when they were starting a new project, I would come in, talk for 20 minutes, and then they would work for the rest of the class period, which is 60 minutes usually.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of our thing. And it would just be at the beginning of a project. So the next couple of times they would come in and I wouldn't talk at all and they would just start working because it's studio.
Right.
So I didn't really know how to cut what I felt was important to tell them because I knew they would get the same amount of time to work on it. It would just be over a longer period of time.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes 100% of sense. And now, like looking through your reflection, it made even more sense. Looking through just a lesson plan where I'm used to you having longer of them doing the previous lesson plans that I did.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't add up the numbers. I just saw the numbers of the actual work and I was like, something looks off here, but I couldn't figure it out until I read your reflection. I was like, oh, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. So yeah, so my suggestions above going, oh, you're talking so much. No, you're not. You're not
Well,
talking. You are actually talking most of the class, but it's not most of what should have been the normal class kind
well,
of thing.
the kids were pissed because they only got 10 minutes. And as it was on that day, especially, they ended up all being late to lunch. And I felt terrible about that, but like they didn't want to stop working. I needed them to clean up, so it was kind of like this hurried sort of situation.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go through. I think no, not I think. I know you're better than what your rubric says this week.
Yeah.
It's you are unfortunately penalized from what your school does not provide
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to the rubric this week. So I want to personally apologize for my grading for you this week because I have to follow up the rubric, and unfortunately, your school just isn't very helpful with me on this.
Well, also
So
just to let you know, the bilingual kids have nothing. They don't get any technology.
yeah,
So they aren't allowed to bring their phones to school. They don't get anything. So
that's what I kind of noticed.
I can't even
It
request it from them.
does your I because I remember watching a video with your lower ones. Do they have a translator in there?
Yes, that's the other thing I was going to mention. The reason that the talking took so long is because the translator translates every couple of minutes or whatever. So if I've talked
Mm-hmm.
for like 5 minutes, she'll translate for 5 minutes, and then I'll talk for 5 minutes, and then she translates.
Right.
It's a real pain in the ass. But
So, but I
but
don't remember your younger ones having that.
no, they don't have it because they're not in bilingual. These are totally separate kids in a different part of the
Oh,
school. So the
okay.
kids that you saw the other day or today, whenever, are completely Chinese speaking. They have very, very little English. The other kids that you saw are in the international section and they all speak English and they all practice English at home. They watch English
Okay.
television. They do all sorts of English things. So and a lot of them still speak a fair amount of Chinese, but they understand English much better. And so I don't need a
Okay.
translator. Yeah.
then that was the other thing. Yeah, like it's a wonky school. Like you have a very interesting schedule and life there at that school. So, all right
All
then.
I, you know, I was thinking about it on the way home today, and I was like, I'm going to end up failing this graduate program because of the school that I'm at.
No,
I'm
no, no, no,
like,
you won't
how is
fail
this
it.
possible? Like, it's just going to suck. And the other day in class, she was like, most of the mentors should be wanting you to show them the same class each time. And I'm like, show them the same class. I haven't showed her the same class ever. And so I got really worried about that. And then I know that this time they'd just cut our lessons in half. And so then, and the translator was involved. And so it just came off wonky, even though I was trying to show just the lecturing portion of me so that you knew that I knew what I was talking about,
Yeah.
sort of as standard 4 and 5 wants. But anyway, go ahead.
No, I mean, I understand. I teach across all grade levels too, so I understand that. So, all right. So looking through the rubric, the very first one, and unfortunately, I had to give you just a basic on this because of the ability to pull from the students' prior knowledge and misconceptions, as well as multiple little mini lessons leading up to it, was not shown in the video for the simple fact it is one big lesson. And when it comes to pulling from misconceptions, I think one way you could have shown that in the video, if it happened, was through having discussions with the students of going, okay, do you know who this is? Do you know what it's representing? But again, I don't know what their prior knowledge is. This could be all about really getting them to do tangible things and being exposed to the English language at the same time.
Yeah,
than
that's
necessarily
basically,
building off of that.
yeah, that's basically what it is. Their prior knowledge is just hearing basic English.
Right.
And the art teacher that they had before me had them work on one piece each semester, only one piece, and it was just a copy. They didn't even get to think on their own. So like everything I'm doing with them is like to try to get them to start learning that there's other ways to make art and thinking about things outside of what they're told is art, and to kind of start making up ideas on their own instead of just wrote whatever.
Right.
So it's real wonky. And even with you saying what you've said, I don't know how I could show you prior knowledge because there's none knowledge. So there's no knowledge at all. You should see some of their fine motor skills, like cutting. They don't have that.
Yeah.
Like
No.
I'm still doing the cardboard cutting for them because it makes me very nervous to watch them use, X-Acto knives and things that 8th graders in the United States or at previous schools have already known how to do. So,
oh, wow. Wow, that's really, really hard.
Yeah, most of my kids at the school that I'm at now are working 2 to 3 years below where they probably should be artistically, creatively, if you're gauging things on age. So anyway.
That's really tough. I'm really glad you're sticking through it and you're persevering through the semester or the trimester or whatever, and you're really trying to push them to get better. That shows a lot about your capabilities and your understanding of the needs of the pushing.
Well, yeah, part of the reason I'm doing this project with them is because I wanted them to see that there was phenomenal and exciting painting work happening right in their community by farmers, no less. I mean, these are farmers making those paintings. And they'd never seen these paintings before. They had no clue about it. So I was like, and we're going to make one, but you're going to make it in a different way. And you're going to learn about the painting as you look at it and sort of gain knowledge from it that way. So we'll see what happens.
I'm sure it'll be great. No, I'm sure it will be. I'm sure they'll surprise you and everything else. So the next part of the rubric is about, what is it? The instructional resources. Unfortunately, proficient and higher means that you're using technology, and since the school is not allowing you to provide technology for the students, do you have technology in your classroom?
I have my own personal computer that I bring to school.
Oh, so nothing that has like a big screen, like a smart board or
No, I don't have
anything.
a smart board. I can plug my computer into a projector. Um, and I will probably do that not the next period, but the period after that, to kind of go back over the paintings that they each chose and see if they can sort of start making connections with it as sort of
Yeah,
a,
that's what I was
not
gonna
really,
suggest.
not a presentation, but like a, just a very informal discussion. But they're each going to take hold of their own painting and sort of introduce it to the class, if that makes sense.
Right, yeah, that's exactly what I was going to suggest. If you could just put it up there and then have discussions going around it, like what do you see going on here? What
Mm-hmm.
do you understand, kind of thing. That would be use of technology there. Application of content, I think you did a good job. The only reason you didn't get an outstanding there is the technology side of it. I think that you really help to gauge the students' understanding, and you really do help scaffold it out for them. You walk them through it. You've created an interdisciplinary skills where they're able to paint, they're able to understand the geography around them, like this is where this painting came from the farmers, it's local, it has a cultural feel to it. I think you do a very, very good job of that. And then finally, the other one was the application of content. I gave you an outstanding there because I think you create a sense where students can see the relevance of what they're doing to the real world around them. They're able to say, this is from something local, this has my culture in it, this has similar cultures to what I'm used to. And then they're able to feed off of it and feel a sense of connection to it versus if you were to bring in like the Mona Lisa or
Mm-hmm.
something that's so abstract to them that has no relevance to them, that they have no like even cultural connection to. So I think you did an outstanding job there with that. So watching your video, I saw a lot of good things. I saw that you were stressed and it seemed like you were a little flustered in it. And I completely empathize with that. And you did a million times better than what I would have under that situation. So hats off to you on that one. I think you do a really good job about having the picture printed larger and then having a 3D visual representation to kind of let them link and put the connection with it. It's as an inspiration or as like an example that they could replicate off of, but not exactly. Because when you speak 3D to these Chinese students, they may not really fully understand what you're saying. But
Mm-hmm.
now, since you presented something and you presented multiple things in different ways,
Mm-hmm.
it helps them create their connection. So I think you did a great job there. Um, when you walked off screen and you were talking about the different stations, like you can paint here, but don't go there, see these utensils, they don't go anywhere else. I think you set very clear, reasonable expectations for the students. You said it more than one time to try to help push it in. I'm sure your translator translated that as well to really make sure the students knew what was expected from them and what the requirements are. Once the students got working, you did an excellent job at the students being engaged. They were really happy to be working.
Mm-hmm.
And then you did a lot of positive reinforcement. I love one of the girls, what I understood, I rewound it. Oh my God, that makes me sound old. I scrolled it back a little bit. And one of the things you complimented on, you're like, oh, I like this color. And she goes, it's wasabi. And it just made me giggle. I was like, that's not an answer I'd expect in Egypt or in America. I love that. That's so much of where she is.
Yeah,
It's such a
well,
cute answer.
so Lucia actually has really amazing English. She's probably the only one in the class that can understand everything that I say all the time. Um, and I don't know where that's coming from because she does not speak. I don't think she has very much interaction with her parents at all, but I don't think they speak English at home ever.
She may watch a lot of TV.
She may watch a lot of television, and she's a very good student across the board. So I think she just really pays attention and wants
That's good.
sort of out, and so she knows that English might be her ticket.
So some areas of improvement, which I know some of these things I'm going to suggest just aren't possible now since I understand your students a little more. One thing I would have.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
So are you allowed to mention that when you're giving me the grades? Like, I gave Lindsay whatever, a 2.5 on this, but it's because she's not allowed to have this at her school, or her kids don't understand English, or her, whatever.
I'm going to email your instructor.
Okay.
Because
I didn't know if she got any background, or if she was just like, oh, that's weird. Lindsay got a 2 on this, and then she got a 3 on this, and then she got. So I just didn't want her to be like, this is weird.
No. When things like this happen, I email the instructor, and I ask them. Instructors want me to do different things. Some instructors are like, no, just leave it. It's exactly what was shown in the video. Other instructors are like, okay, I'm going to take this into an account, because your grade goes from your baseline to your final to show growth. Mm-hmm. And so the little things in the middle, if it's something like this, shouldn't be as a huge of impact as just the showing the growth overall.
Yeah.
But I do like the instructors in the loop on that.
Okay.
Because that's super important.
Okay.
Some instructors will go back and going, well, imagine she did use technology. How would you grade her then? And I can go back and change it on that. It's just all of what the instructor wants.
Okay.
So I try to stay close and work with them because I don't want to step on their toes because it's their class.
Okay. Yeah.
So another thing that I would have done is I would have, when you talk about pop-ups, I would have asked, so do you know what a pop-up is? And lead it into a filtering question for that. However, now since I know who your learners are, that may not be something that's reasonable to even ask. So that could be something to take into account. But a couple of things that I did notice that were big. You did use some really big words when you were describing a picture. You said it's very chaotic in this picture. So you may have wanted to use simpler words like it's very busy in this picture. You also followed it up with, when there's a lot of things in the picture, it can feel very claustrophobic. That's probably a word that even your advanced English learner may not know, because it's not a word that comes up very often. So if you did want to use that word, I would follow it up with, it's very claustrophobic, meaning that there's a lot of things really close together. So for her that likes learning English, now she has a way to link it together. And for those that don't care about English, now you've just simplified it for them at the same time. So you've kind of helped with both levels.
I have to be really conscious of that, because sometimes I'm just talking and it like intuitively will just come out of my face.
Yep.
And I just am at that point, sometimes I'm just like, well, Sherry's gonna have to translate this. And it's sometimes I'm like, well, I hope Sherry even knows those words. Like, sometimes I'm like, I don't even know if Sherry knows these words. Who knows?
And I get the same feedback as well when I was going through this. Like, I was using bigger words, and not because I was showing off, but that's just because that's what it was.
Yeah.
Kind of. So I got told that a lot when I was going through this program. And so now I'm very aware of it, and I can see it in others. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure I still do it. I'm 100% sure I still do it, but I try to be more aware for myself as well.
Right.
So I think that's funny. For the 2 boys, I would have moved them. You did a really good job at setting your expectations. You did a really good job at warning them, but you did give them several warnings. I would have just went ahead and moved them. I wouldn't have wasted any more time on it. They seem like they're super engaged once they get started. However, boys will be boys on the carpet, and they seem like it was more interesting to listen to them, because I feel, and I have no evidence of this, I feel they may be extremely weak in English.
Oh, they're incredibly weak in English. They have no idea what I'm saying. None.
Yeah. So
Not at
this is
all.
why they're so distracting to one another, because you might as well be speaking German to them.
Yeah, they have no
And they're
idea.
just they're gonna listen, because they did listen when she was translating,
Hmm.
which gave me a clue that they have no idea what you're saying. They were just
None.
waiting for her. They need you to stop talking so they can get the information from her, and then they can move on. And
Yeah,
so while you're talking, they can talk, because it doesn't matter what you're going to say, because they don't get it.
yeah,
So
exactly.
I
And
would have moved them. Yeah, I
that's
definitely would
exactly
have
what
moved
they
them.
do.
Would have been distracting to others.
Hmm.
And then if possible, maybe have students say what they see in the picture, even if they're using very basic words like blue or green. At least getting them to start speaking and feeling more comfortable with speaking English can help the ball rolling on their conversational English to start evolving as well.
Hmm.
But I mean, that's me being really nitpicky and trying to find stuff to pull out, because I think with the scenario that you have, the situation that you have, the situation that you're in, I think you've done a very, very good job of coping, managing, and adapting to it.
Um, well, they've started out great. They were so excited, and that them not understanding me is a huge issue because they don't want me talking. They would rather just let me
Exactly.
work. But I have to give them some sort of introduction. I can't just let them
Mhm.
go because they're not going to know
Right.
what to do. And then they're just going to waste the supplies because they're going to end up making just messes. And so it is challenging because I need to talk to them, but they don't want to hear it in English. They'd rather just hear it in Chinese.
Hmm.
That's what they're going to get next year. So whatever. Um,
No, I understand. And I can feel your frustration at it, because I know you want to do better,
yeah.
but you're limited to what you're allowed to do and what you have the capabilities to do because of the situation, not
Last
because of your capability.
at the beginning, when was it? We did some animation project at some point where I had them photograph something with their phone. And the principal got on to me because I had them bring their phones to art class. And I was like, it's literally the only technology they have. Like, I requested it. So they really don't want those kids doing that. I mean, it's just,
It's really sad.
yeah. So, but anyway, well, I think the feedback is really good and it's really helpful. I wish things were better so that the videos were better for you on your end, but I'm trying to show you a variety of students
Hmm.
and projects so that you can see that there's variation happening, but
Right.
it's just challenging. It's really
No, I understand. It sounds like everything in that school is challenging. So
challenging.
I have a lot of empathy for you.
Thank you.
All right. If you want to stop recording,
Yeah.
that way we can talk about the future.